This is ABC 7 News at 6.
Vice President J.D. Vance touched down in Bangor this afternoon for a visit. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. J.D. Vance told listeners Maine is one of the worst states in the nation when it comes to fraud, and he accused state lawmakers of ignoring the problem. Our Grace Blanchard was there and has details.
Vice President of the United States of America, J.D. Vance.
Vice President J.D. Vance welcomed by a large crowd in Bangor as he made a stop in the Queen City with the topic of fraud taking center stage.
What you have in Maine is a festering problem where people have been taken advantage of and they've been stolen from, and your government hasn't done anything about it.
The vice president has been assigned by President Trump to lead an anti-fraud task force, cracking down on states like Minnesota, California, and Maine. If they're the gold medalist and the silver medalist, I heard somebody shout out New York. Maybe New York is the bronze medalist, but let me be honest, maybe Maine is the bronze medalist. Vance pointed towards a federal audit released earlier this year that found Maine made at least $45 million in improper Medicaid payments. He also voiced support for former Governor Paul LePage, who said if elected to Congress, he would make addressing fraud a priority.
When the government wastes taxpayer money, it's working families like you who pay the price.
Vance shared that the administration has sent letters to all 50 states, warning that states could lose funding if they don't get serious about fighting fraud.
The reality is the federal government is going to act, even if our Democrat colleagues don't care, want to put their head in the sand on this issue, want to refuse to act. That's their choice, but it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
The threat to the Medicaid program is not us keeping fraudsters away from the Medicaid program. It's the fraudsters raiding that program to begin with. That's the threat to the Medicaid program.
The vice president says going after fraud is not a partisan or political issue. The administration is willing to work with any state official, Democratic or Republican, over the next 2 years to address what he described as a pressing issue. In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Across the street from Vice President Vance's event, a crowd of protesters gathered voicing their opposition to the vice president and the Trump administration. As our Alex Schley tells us, despite some tense moments, the demonstration remained peaceful.
I'm a never Trump guy.
Protesters lined Main Avenue, waving signs, chanting, and making their frustration with the current administration clear. Many who attended say they felt compelled to show up and make their voices heard.
I can't just sit home on my couch and do nothing about it.
I am here today because I think it's really important to have a very visible, very audible, loud, active pushback against what the government is currently trying to do in just about every arena.
He's helping Trump, who is in the Epstein files more than Epstein himself.
Several candidates running for governor and Congress also made an appearance, standing in solidarity with the crowd and echoing many of the same concerns.
The people of Maine have had enough with what's going on with this administration. The economy's upside down. We're in an illegal war, and J.D. Vance coming here to sell what? To sell more of the same.
It's so important in this moment of crisis for our democracy with this administration, which is the most corrupt in our history, that we come and demonstrate, stand in solidarity and have our voices heard against this, because it's wrong.
Rebecca Hartwell attended Thursday's event, calling herself a peacekeeper and working to de-escalate confrontation and ensure the demonstration remained peaceful.
We all have free speech, at least for the moment, ostensibly. So they have every right in the world to come over and ask whatever questions they want, but we also have the right to refuse to give them the rage-baiting content that they are here to get.
Democratic candidate for governor, Shenna Bellows, says the message from Thursday's crowd was unmistakable.
Hate has no home here.
In Bangor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The podium, two Democrats, one a candidate for governor, the other for Congress, gathered with supporters to shine a light on reproductive rights and the accusations of fraud against the state. Our Doug Banks shares those details.
In response to Vice President J.D. Vance visiting Bangor on Thursday, Democratic candidates for public office spoke about abortion rights and the fraud accusations levied against the state of Maine. A U.S. court recently granted the state of Louisiana's request to temporarily suspend the abortion medication mifepristone from being sent to patients through the mail. The U.S. Supreme Court responded by reversing that decision.
You know, as governor, We need to take this on and tell them that this is the state of Maine, and we're going to do what we need to do to protect our health care.
The vice president's main talking point on Thursday was fraud. Back in January, a federal audit found that Maine made at least $45 million in improper fee-for-service Medicaid payments for rehabilitative and community support services provided to children diagnosed with autism.
Months ago, I broke with my party and called for an independent commission to audit the Maine Care program. I believe in accountability. I believe Mainers deserve to know where every tax dollar is being spent, and that isn't partisan, that's just good government. And I've been saying it long before J.D. Vance booked a flight to Bangor.
Other speakers included State Representative Amy Rader, Dr. Julia McDonald with the Mabel Wadsworth Center, and Bangor School Board member Mallory Cook. In Bangor, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee spoke out on Vice President J.D. Vance's visit, saying it was a desperate attempt to distract from what they call the war Paul LePage and his allies are waging on Mainers' health care. They said, quote, if Vance wants to talk about scams, he should talk about Republicans' big ugly bill, which is already kicking tens of thousands of Mainers off Medicaid, putting rural hospitals across the district at risk of closure, and gutting Maine's healthcare system to fund massive tax breaks to billionaires, end quote. Switching gears now, the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency arrested 5 people following the execution of a search warrant in Caribou on Thursday, May 7th, after a month-long investigation into suspected drug trafficking at a residence on Sweden Street in Caribou. MDEA agents and the Maine State Police tactical team executed a search warrant there. They say they seized over 200 grams of fentanyl and a sawed-off 20-gauge shotgun. The 5 arrested all face charges of aggravated trafficking in scheduled drugs. 49-year-old Ariel Rosado, 49-year-old Jose Rosado, 41-year-old Justin Murphy, 33-year-old Andrea Trantham, and 26-year-old Tiana McLaughlin, all of Caribou, were arrested. Ariel Rosado, Trantham, and Murphy also face probation violations. Now, according to MDEA, more arrests are expected to come in this case. Agents were assisted in that case by Maine State Police, Caribou Police, the Aroostook County Sheriff's Office, and U.S. Border Patrol. Well, a former Mount Desert Island high school student is suing her former principal, who is still at the school. Her suit accuses Principal Matthew Haney of failing to stop harassment in school from another student, as well as willfully allowing a brutal assault later on that left her with a concussion and other injuries. The suit says the conflict involved the female plaintiff and another student who was biologically male but identified as female. The suit alleges that the biologically male student had been harassing the plaintiff in the fall of 2024. She reported the harassment to Principal Haney, but the suit says nothing was done. Then one day, on the way to school, when the male student got on the bus, he allegedly attacked the plaintiff's friend, and when the plaintiff intervened, documents say he then assaulted the plaintiff. The bus driver separated them and radioed the school and said increased staff and police presence would be needed upon their arrival. But according to the suit, when the bus arrived, only Principal Haney and the school nurse were present. The male student allegedly attacked the plaintiff again, smashing a steel water bottle into her head, forcing her to the ground, smashing her face into the pavement, and punching her several times. The suit claims Principal Haney didn't do anything to stop the assault, and when the bus driver tried to intervene, the suit says Principal Haney allegedly told him to, quote, let them fight it out. The plaintiff suffered a concussion, a bite to her face, and PTSD. She's suing for multiple levels of damages. In April of last year, local baby Eliana Rose Campbell passed away at 10 months old from junctional epidermolysis bullosa, a rare genetic skin disease with no known cure. It's commonly referred to as butterfly disease due to the blisters that form from the slightest of touches, or, quote, the worst disease you've never heard of, as it only affects roughly 500,000 people worldwide. Her story of resilience sparked a community to join arms in raising awareness to hopefully find a cure, and it also started a memorial walk that will be held later this month. The second annual Eliana's Hope for Healing Memorial Walk will start at 10 a.m. on the Bangor waterfront on Saturday, May 30th. The walk will go across the Joshua Chamberlain Bridge onto the Brewer River Walk, leading to the pink butterfly bench dedicated to Eliana Rose. According to the Campbell family, funds from this year's walk will go toward finding a cure for junctional epidermolysis bullosa.
We hope that people remember Ellie I know that her story made a really big impact on the world, and I just don't want people to forget.
And to just get more people to know about the disease and learn Ellie's story.
Not every case of EB is terminal, but every case is a lot of pain. And the more money we can raise towards research, the more we can get closer to a life without pain.
Well, the Memorial Walk is being organized by a group called Eliana's Army. Last year's walk garnered around $30,000 for EB research, and to sign up, you can visit the story on our website, foxbangor.com. Alrighty, folks, let's pause now and take a first look at our forecast.
Thank you, Beth. Your evening weather is brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes, now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote at 207-263-3421. All right, as we saw for today, those highs did get into the mid-60s here in Bangor, but much cooler off to the west. Some of you hanging out in the 50s for today with that cold front in the area, providing nonstop showers out there this afternoon. We're still going to see showers for tonight. Many of those will make their way back into the Bangor area. So you can see that here tonight. It's right around 1 to 1:30 in the morning. You'll see more of the heavier rain making its way all along the coastline now, sneaking its way into Bangor. And this is going to continue throughout much of your Friday morning into the afternoon. This front kind of stalls out. It's going to provide some scattered showers, but by the evening hours, this will be out of here and be drying out throughout the rest of your Friday night. So overnight for tonight, pretty cloudy skies still out there with the front in the area. And you can see a little bit after 1 a.m., those showers tick up again, especially here in the Bangor area. But those clouds, showers, and a little bit of wind is going to keep our lows near 50 degrees for tonight. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much. And coming up on ABC 7 News at 6, a look at your national headlines.
I'm Graham Plattner, and I approve this message.
Plattner knows what it means to fight a war. When Graham got home, he struggled, like a lot of us. The same politicians who sent him to fight that war are using it against him and doing everything they can to stop Graham Plattner.
Starting in May 2026, Maine Paid Family and Medical Leave gives eligible workers up to 12 weeks to take the time needed for parental and family care, medical, military family, and safe leave. With partial wage replacement, your income stays protected, giving you peace of mind. Leave is flexible, portable, and available to self-employed Mainers who elect coverage. Maine Paid Family and Medical Leave. It's how we care. It's who we are. Benefits begin May 2026. Learn more at maine.gov/paid leave.
Think you know Robert Charles? Think again. While President Trump was crushing the woke left, DC insider Bob Charles was cashing in, making millions holding lucrative contracts with the woke DEI Never Trump Obama administration. Bob Charles, looking the other way, abandoning the MAGA movement, working for liberal DEI-loving Democrats, failing President Trump. Anything for a buck chuck can't be trusted. Trump traitor Robert Charles, woke, radical, wrong. Just too liberal for Maine.
Thousands of kids like Caroline receive life-changing care at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center each year, the only full-service pediatric program north of Portland. You can help support them by joining the Summer Classic for Maine Kids Golf Tournament, happening July 31st at Bangor Municipal Golf Course, benefiting the Children's Miracle Network at Eastern Maine Medical Center. Every dollar raised supports pediatric care today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Ready to tee up for a great cause? Visit northernlight.org/4kids to learn more and register today.
We're here for those who build America. Those who believe that giving everything we've got today will pay off tomorrow. Who will drive America forward for 250 years to come. If that's who you are, you should pay what we pay.
Now get employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
I'm Graham Plattner, and I approve this message.
Plattner knows what it means to fight a war. When Graham got home, he struggled, like a lot of us. The same politicians who sent him to fight that war are using it against him and doing everything they can to stop Graham Plattner.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper talked to lawmakers grappling with two clashing concerns: strained U.S. weapon stockpiles and Iran's remaining military strength. Fox's chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin has more from Capitol Hill.
In less than 40 days, CENTCOM forces achieved our military objectives.
The head of U.S. Central Command responsible for the Middle East headed to Capitol Hill on Thursday. Lawmakers grilling Admiral Brad Cooper for the first time since the start of the Iran conflict. Cooper says the U.S. is winning and pushed back on recent intelligence estimates showing Iran still has significant missile and launch capabilities.
It's more than just the numbers. It's the command and control that's been shattered. It's a significant degradation in capability.
There were also tough questions about civilian casualties. Admiral Cooper says there's only one incident under investigation and plenty of talk about America's munitions stockpile, with the U.S. firing at least 45% of its Patriot missiles since the conflict began.
Can you talk to me about how this constrains our air and missile defense?
Senator, I have all the munitions necessary to both defend our forces as well as conduct a broad range of contingencies.
But some Democrats claim that's not true, and they're blaming President Trump.
American munitions stockpiles are shrinking. All for what? What's his goal here?
The hearing came just hours after Iran seized another vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian government claims the strait is open, but ships will have to, quote, cooperate with Iran's military.
That could be ended by the removal of this illegal blockade imposed by Americans.
Admiral Cooper told lawmakers it will take about a decade for Iran to rebuild its navy. On Capitol Hill, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Well, still to come on ABC 7 News at 6 in sports, Husson softball played host to the NCAA D3 Regional today. See how they fared when we come back after the break.
What does Graham Plattner think of rural Mainers? He calls them stupid and racist. And Plattner called some Maine lobstermen drug-addicted pieces of shit. That's the real Graham Plattner. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Bush. And I know what you're thinking, not another Bush, but hear me out. I'm not a politician or a lobbyist. I'm a veteran, an entrepreneur who created over 900 jobs in Maine. And as governor, I'll take a sledgehammer to Janet Mills' wasteful spending. I'll slash your taxes, property, and income, and put the Democrats' woke policies in the shredder. I'm Jonathan Bush. It's time for a... Johnny, don't touch the shredder!
What is third-hand smoke? Unlike second-hand smoke you can see, third-hand smoke is invisible toxic residue left behind by smoking and vaping. It sticks to surfaces in your home and car, kids' toys, floors and carpets, furniture, clothing, pet toys, even car seats. It stays long after smoking and vaping stops, and these toxic chemicals can put the health of children, pets, and others at risk. Protect your loved ones from third-hand smoke. Visit MaineQuitLink.com to learn the risks.
The fun never stops at Wheel.
You got it! It's a car! And the crowd goes wild. A truly historic bonus round on Wheel of Fortune. Somebody could win $500,000. Where are you going? To pass out? Exciting giveaways ahead, like fabulous vacations, and let's manifest another $1 million winner. You're a millionaire! Oh my God!
Weekdays at 7 on ABC 7. Graham Plattner blames Maine's women for getting raped because he says they get up drunk. And Plattner bragged about having a Nazi tattoo on his chest. That's the real Graham Plattner. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Folks, we'll start on the softball diamond. Husson, who hosted their Division III NCAA Tournament Regional Round game against Endicott College on Thursday morning. Husson hosting for the third time in 5 years. Eagles start strong with a clean 3 outs in the first inning, and they put points on the board when Lydia Rice hits one deep to send Morgan Tainter home. 1-0 Husson, but the goals would respond swiftly in the third. Ella Tower hits one right on the line past the infield, and 2 runs make it for the lead. Moments later, Elise Sacusio hits another deep one, and Maddie Bealey finds her way home for a 3-1 lead. In the fourth, Husson takes the lead back thanks in part to this hit from Tainter that allows Sophia Lynch and Cameron King to round the bases In the 7th, Husson still leads 4-3. That's until Towers' big hit brings Bealey and Abby McFlan in back to home to take the lead. They'd hold it and beat Husson 7-4 in the early upset. It's worth noting the tournament is double elimination, meaning Husson will play again on Friday against the loser of Colby and MIT. Let's stick to local softball and check in with the Bucksport Golden Bucks, who are a season removed from a Class C state title and are showing no signs of regression this year. The Golden Bucks are off to another great start this season, tallying an impressive 9-1 record through 10 games thus far. Junior Maria Keefe and senior Olivia Schutz say the play of the team has clearly played a role in their success, but their mindset and the close bond they hold has been just as important.
I think it's that we don't give up. We've had a lot of clutch innings where we score a lot of runs, even if it's been a tight game all game, so I think it's our determination.
I think that we've grown really close together. We have a group chat and we talk all the time. We have a lot of fun. We laugh. We don't argue. Like, there's no drama.
The Golden Bucks have only fallen in one game this season, and that was their very first game of the year against Washington Academy. They'll have a chance to avenge that loss on Friday when they travel to play the Raiders. The team says they'll need to bring their best to earn the outcome they desire.
We definitely have to come prepared, know what we have to do, and just work.
I think we need to jump on the ball quicker, just get our bats around a little faster, more energy. We don't have a problem with energy, but it'll help.
And I think we'll do good because our team's really come alive since the first game of the season, so I think we'll be on top of it this game.
Folks, don't forget the NFL is releasing full schedules tonight at 8. There's already a couple confirmed dates for New England, but later on Fox at 10 and ABC at 11, we will have the Patriots' full schedule for you right here. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. Here's your full 5-day forecast.
Thank you, Jack. Your weather tonight is brought to you by Da Vinci Signs. From interior and exterior signage, signage packages, and vehicle wraps to illuminated signs, LEDs, and electronic message boards. We're all about making your business visible with innovative signage designed for impact. All right, as we saw there for today, we did reach into the mid-60s, even with the cloud cover and a few showers in the area. That warm front and the gusty south wind really helped us warm up for today. So you saw those mid-60s reach all the way up in the Millinocket, Holton, Presque Isle as well. A bit more cooler to the west because that's where your cold front's at, and it's hanging out there throughout much of today, keeping you cooler in the 50s with those rain showers, a little bit heavier than we're seeing here in Bangor. But for tonight, we're going to get those clouds back here in the Bangor area, more of those rain showers right around the Bangor and coastal regions as well. That's going to keep many of our lows just near 54 tonight. If we do dip below that, only in the upper 40s, right? You can see that in Millinocket, Monson, even all the way up into Caribou as well for lows tonight. And into tomorrow, it's showing us hanging out in the upper 50s, but this is what it did the day before as well. We're looking at temperatures reaching the low to mid 60s for tomorrow. We'll have some clouds decreasing late, allowing for a little bit of sunshine. But yes, much of the day will still be spent with some scattered rain showers. Looking to stay light, but still out there for tomorrow afternoon. So a bit cooler still for tomorrow. Mid 60s, our average high is 65, so only a degree below that. And we're jumping well above average for your weekend. Mid to upper 70s for Saturday into Sunday. Right near 70 on Monday, but another big jump Tuesday. We'll see those highs reaching into the low 80s, about 15 degrees above average. That may come with a few showers and thunderstorms, so temperatures will cool off back in your average by your Thursday into the mid 60s then. But we got some May-like weather on the way with some warmer temperatures, but out there for today, a bit more cloudy with warm temperatures still in the mid 60s, but it would be better with sunshine, right? So there is an east wind out there in Bangor, right around 14 miles per hour. We're going to kind of see the wind switch overnight. They're going to be coming more from the northeast for tomorrow, as many of us are seeing it from the south and the southeast for today. And again, the winds won't be too bad, maybe gusting near 15 miles per hour like we're seeing out there right now. So as you see, more of that heavier rain is going to try to make its way back along all of our coastline for tonight. Again, the heavier stuff is still staying more west near Portland, but we'll get more of that rain here in Bangor throughout tonight as well. That'll start right around 1 a.m. and it's going to linger throughout the Bangor and coastal regions all the way into tomorrow afternoon. Again, it's going to get much lighter than we've seen with the heavier rain out there for today, but this is going to make its way out of here finally by tomorrow night. You'll see the decreasing cloud cover then, and for your Saturday, a few clouds out there, but plenty of sunshine. That's going to help us warm up into those mid to upper 70s to start off our weekend. So for tonight, we're going to see lows setting up in the upper 40s and low 50s. Many of us right around 50 degrees for tonight. We got rain showers out there, and there will be some areas of dense fog developing. So if you're driving forward tonight, please be careful with the rain and the fog out there, making it hard to drive at night. So for tomorrow, highs back in the mid 60s. Some of West could see low to mid 60s out there. Scattered showers, decreasing clouds late. This is what may help bump our temperatures for tomorrow, but we will get a wind switch from the northeast right around 5 to 15 miles per hour. So taking a look at your extended forecast, you got 70s on the way for your weekend with plenty of sunshine, right near 70 on Monday, but check out your Tuesday. We got highs into the low 80s with a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much, and there is still more to come after the break.
Who is the real Graham Plattner? He calls rural Mainers stupid and racist. Plattner says some Maine lobstermen are drug-addicted pieces of shit. He blames Maine's women for getting raped because he says they get up drunk. Graham Plattner even bragged about a Nazi tattoo on his chest. He calls it eminently reasonable. That's the real Graham Plattner. To be continued. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. All things basementy. Our Stable Lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
I am living my dream. A dream that I had no idea was my dream until I started doing it. I chose the Certified Medical Assisting program because being a medical assistant is so rewarding. We had 6 kids and I was already working full-time at the hospital. My husband said, you know, you should just do it. Maybe that decision in the beginning is difficult, but it's not impossible. It doesn't matter what is happening in your life. This is a doable thing.
Jado Highlands Golf Course, nestled in the woods of Lincoln, just a short drive from Bangor or Holton. Designed for players of all abilities, Jado features everything a golfer desires. 18 fully irrigated holes, driving range, practice green, and a golf shop with instruction available. Jado maintains quality course conditions while proudly displaying some of the most scenic views in Maine. Challenge yourself to a round of golf surrounded by the beauty of Maine at Jado Highlands Golf Course.
Last season on Jeopardy!
How is anybody ever going to beat this guy?
A shocking end to a streak for the ages.
I did not expect to win.
Now the stage is set. Who will step in and light it up? New players.
It is very fun.
Bigger stakes.
I'm excited already.
And a chance to shine.
What a great competition.
The all-new season of Jeopardy!
Yes, finally.
Finally tonight, our Callie Warren joins us now live from the Bangor Historical Society. Callie.
Absolutely. Thanks, Beth. We have definitely seen some new improvements here at the Historical Society. The portico restoration project has been in the works for a while, so the outside of the building now looks beautiful. We've got an incredible facelift out there, but inside the Hill House, I mean, there is so much history that's been preserved. We're celebrating America's 250th birthday. Right here next to me is a perfectly preserved silk dress from 1765. Behind me over there is John Hancock's actual dressing gown. So definitely a little sneak peek of some of the fashion that you'll get to see at the Historical Society, but also just some of the amazing preserved artifacts that you'll get to see celebrating a little bit later in the summer. So we will be bringing you some more from the Historical Society later this evening. For now, Beth, back to you.
Callie, thank you so much. So many ways to experience history. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at ABC 7 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. And for more, join us over on Fox 22 News tonight at 6:30.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to.
All I wanted was the money back that I paid for the vehicle.
I'm glad the decision turned out to be on my behalf because
the agreement was for all of us to, as a family, get around with the vehicle.
She purchased a car, I understand that, but I was supposed to drive them around.
And he agreed to put it in his name, and
that's what the whole family, it was a family car.
I paid for all the expenses on the vehicle.
Because I guess she wanted the money for her car, and it doesn't work that way.
He wasn't paying the landlord.
I was paying the rent. I was the only one paying the rent.
I ended up finding that out when the landlord ended up knocking on the door.
She was living with me. My other daughter was living with me.
Saying why I haven't received the payments from me.
With their boyfriends, and they never paid a dime.
He was telling my sister that I was stealing money from him.
Yeah, I rebuilt a friendship, or
Yep, one day at a time.
The family reunion, as they would say.
This is Fox 22 News Tonight.
Vice President J.D. Vance touched down in Bangor this afternoon. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Vice President Vance told listeners Maine is one of the worst states in the nation when it comes to fraud, and he accused state lawmakers of ignoring the problem. Our Grace Blanchard was there and has details.
Vice President of the United States of America, J.D. Vance.
Vice President J.D. Vance welcomed by a large crowd in Bangor as he made a stop in the Queen City with the topic of fraud taking center stage.
What you have in Maine is a festering problem where people have been taken advantage of and they've been stolen from, and your government hasn't done anything about it.
The Vice President has been assigned by President Trump to lead an anti-fraud task force, cracking down on states like Minnesota,